SOXL has dropped 55% from my June entry, but I'm only down 9%. Plus, I generated over $30,000 in cash while it was falling. Today, I'll show you the exact strategy we use before we're done. Can you imagine taking 18 months to fully own your shares of SOXL? If there were only a strategy that would let me buy and hold SOXL and be part of the big moves. And there is. But remember, these are my results, not a promise of what you'll make. Your results will vary. Most traders never even consider selling puts on a triple leveraged ETF. Now, I'm about to show you why that single decision is the first part of the system that can actually pay off your SOX shares. Start with part one. First, I only want to be selling puts when my weekly TSI and my weekly MACD have shown that the trend has changed. So, how do I know it's time to sell puts on SOXL? I wait for something very simple. I wait for my triggers, which happen with the crossover or cross up of the weekly TSI and the weekly MACD histogram. When weekly TSI and MACD are rising, that tells me my trend is going up. And that's when I want to be selling. That's the only time I want to be selling naked puts or bull put spreads. And if you want a deeper dive on option spreads, just leave a comment, option spreads, and we'll cover that in a future video. So what's my objective? My objective is to sell my puts on the way up, but where? That's always a question. The where is taken care of simply by looking for the little small pullbacks back into the moving averages, the 8 to 20 or the 50. And in this 9-week move, if we open up a put there, that's 1, 2, pull back there. As you see, every time the price action pulls back to one of the moving averages, that's my trigger to get in. How do I get in? I use my target shooting technique that I defined in video 1. And there's 6 different opportunities here over this period of time. Opportunities to sell puts on the way up. Price actions from the low to the high was about 13 weeks, 12 to 13 weeks. And as you see, there's 6 different times you would be able to sell puts against that move to the upside. I'll cover it shortly about what's my expectations for the actual trade itself, how much premium I want to pull in, and also show, does it make sense? And can the at the money put really generate the amount of cash I want to generate through that move to the upside? So this is how I get paid for the big moves to the upside. But there's the part that most people don't talk about. The real power only shows up when you combine this with the second part of this, which is protecting your SOXL position when it decides to correct. Ready for that? Puts keep you paid and lower your cost basis while the trend is going up. The second half of the combination, the part that actually generated the $30,000 in cash for me, is what you switch to when momentum rolls over. That's next. While prices are rising on SOXL, this is the exact moment most traders get covered calls completely backwards. But here's my exact rules that turn that 55% drop into $30,000 of income, and in reality, only a 9% drop in the value of that position. In part 2, I'm going to cover the high delta, covered calls. I apply the same mechanical rules I've covered earlier, and when I start selling calls to the downside, and that's the reversal of the DSI and the MACD histogram telling me the tide is now changed and the trend is now heading down. Quick review on this is I use conditional orders to trigger my entry and my exits. And so it's very simple. I trigger in at my target price, and I use the Black-Scholes black box that I covered in video number 1 to estimate my price, where to sell the call in this case. I enter that conditional orders along with the OCOs. I have an initial hard stop of 1.5 times the premium I collect. And then I take my profits when I have 80% of the max potential gain. Once I have achieved 40 to 50% of the max profit, I change my trailing stop so that I will always achieve at least 25% of the max gain. One thing I like when the price action does turn over, it seems a little bit easier to sell the covered calls almost on a weekly basis. And let me show you why. First of all, I'm looking at a 10-week moving average right there. And I'm looking for pullbacks. The strongest one, the pullbacks up into the 10-week moving average. I can estimate what the price of my call option, that's 2 to 3 strike prices in the money. And that's where I sell my weekly calls. You want my complete flight plan, every rule, every checklist, and the exact way to target, shoot, entries, and exits. It's all in my book, Trade Your Way to Freedom. Links in the description. But right now, let's finish the combination that can actually hand you the pink slip to SOXL. Not a promise, just a possibility. So once the TSI and the MACD have turned over and I'm in an established downtrend, I'm looking for pullbacks on a weekly basis back up into a level of resistance. 1, 2, 3. But what about these down here? These, where the price action popped up during the first part of the week, actually corresponds to these areas where it's hitting on a lower moving average. And during this move down, which is about 6 weeks, there's several opportunities, as you see in my tracker for the trades that I made, where you could actually enter a trade. Even when it pulled all the way back up here, as it turned out, SOXL provided us 12 to 13 opportunities to go ahead and sell a covered call on the way down. So utilizing the first trigger's, my OCO order, it literally is I target shoot against one of the moving averages or a zone around them to enter at a value for that week or maybe a week and a half out for the call option I'm trying to sell. What's interesting, I find, is that because the price action on SOXL moves so much that oftentimes I'm not in a trade very long. Oftentimes I hit my 80% of max profit within 1 to 2 days simply because of the large amount. So here's a little note you may want to take a look at and also tie it into that projection of potentially paying for or reducing your cost basis to 0 on SOXL in that 12 to 18 month period, selling puts on the way up and calls on the way down. I want to know what I should be targeting on a weekly basis to pay off SOXL over a 12-month or 18-month period. So it turns out that over a 52-week period, I need $4.50 worth of premium collected on average during a week to pay it off within 52 weeks. For the 78 weeks, which equates to the 18-month period, I need $3 per week. So is there enough juice in the premium to be able to do that? So if I'm closing at 80% of the max profit, the premium collected per week is going to run somewhere about $5.63 to pay it off in a year, $3.75 to pay it off in 18 months. And is this reasonable? Well, for this current week, with only 4 days till Friday expiration. The at the money call and the at the money put is on SOXL is sitting at $6.80 for the call and $6.85 for the put. So the answer is yes, there's enough premium in the option to be able to achieve my objective on a weekly basis on average. Remember, it is a combination of low touch puts. What I mean by low touch, first triggers an OCL while the price is going up, and high delta covered calls while the price is going down. That makes owning SOXL free and clear even possible. And what's really great, this is how a leveraged ETF stops being stressful and becomes a systematic income and, in this case, ownership machine. And it also opens the door for how we can buy and hold SOXL. So remember, the next video in the series is how to buy leaps and then sell four-man covered calls. That's right, PMCC on TQQ this time. Everything I showed you uses the exact same mechanical process I taught in video 1. If you haven't watched it yet, watch video 1 next. And it gives you a precise contract selection and order building steps that make both of these parts of selling premium low touch and repeatable.